Good afternoon. My name is Chief Chris Velasquez of the Lake Wales Police Department. I'm going to give an update to the officer-involved shooting that occurred yesterday evening at this time. On March 3rd, 2015, at approximately 5:46 p.m., 59-year-old John Gopfrich called 911 and said that shots were fired at his residence and that he needed the police. Officers were dispatched to the scene, to his residence, and upon arrival, they heard gunfire. Seconds later, they began taking gunfire from the suspect. The officers returned fire to defend themselves, and at that time, Officer Jonathan Schwartz was struck. The round that struck Officer Schwartz struck his duty belt. Thank God his duty belt stopped that round from entering into his body. It actually entered into the belt and was caught right behind it in another belt that he was wearing. Two more officers arrived on scene. As soon as they arrived, they began taking gunfire. K-9 Officer Albert Coppage received 2 rounds to his vehicle during that time. The other officer that arrived to assist was also fired at. The gunfire ensued. Officer Benjamin Metz was struck in the back of the neck. The projectile entered the left side of his neck, traveled to the right, and then exited. The suspect fired his weapon during this incident toward at least 12 law enforcement officers. He fired at 12 law enforcement officers. The suspect was shot twice during this altercation. He was shot in the right arm and in the left side of his back. Officer Schwartz was transported to the Lake Wales Medical Center. He was treated and released. Officer Metz was flown to LRMC, where he was treated and ultimately released last night. 5 Lake Wales officers fired their weapons during this incident. The exact number of rounds fired by the suspect or the officers is undetermined at this time. The investigation is still extremely active. The crime scene is still being processed. The suspect remains hospitalized at this time. He's been charged with 12 counts of attempted murder of a law enforcement officer, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and misuse of 911. The only history available at this time on the suspect shows an arrest by Lake Wales Police in May of 2011 for trespassing in an occupied structure or conveyance. Right now, we're just very thankful that no other officers were injured. We're thankful that the officers that were shot have been released and they're going to recover. Our thoughts and prayers are with their families and with all of the families that are involved. It's not just the officers that were involved in the shooting or the officers that were hit that we're thinking about at this time. Every one of the officers that responded, from Lake Wales, the Sheriff's Office, the State Fire Marshal's Office, officers came. As long as they heard the call, they were on their way. Our thoughts are with all those officers. They all came to protect this community and to make sure that the suspect was taken into custody. These kind of things can happen. We prepare for it. We train for it. We have some of the best law enforcement officers around in this department and in this county. I'm very proud of everybody. I hail them as heroes that they ran toward that gunfire and they stopped it. We will continue to work to protect this community. Our thoughts are also with the family of the suspect. They had nothing to do with this. We know that they're going through a tough time as well. Our thoughts and prayers are with them as well. Again, at the end of the day, we're just very pleased that nobody else was injured, and we're here for the community.
Chief, how would you describe the mood at this department today?
I think right now, a number of the officers are still shocked. I think it's very tough to deal with a situation like this. Again, whether they were involved, whether they fired rounds or not, they responded and they were involved. If they weren't there at the scene, they knew that their family, their brothers and sisters, were there. Each one of these people have families. These 2 officers that were shot, they have wives, they have children. Each one of us, you know, we have families that we've got to take care of, and they worry about us. And when this kind of incident occurs, you know, the phone calls, the text, emails, everything starts coming in, and people are wanting to know, are you okay? And at that time, there's no time to respond to that, and it really puts them through a lot. So our thoughts are with their families too.
I understand there are photos of that belt. Whenever you saw those, what was your reaction?
Just, it was a miracle. It was truly a miracle. It was a blessing that he had that on, and that the round hit him where it hit him. Had it not been stopped by that belt, it would have been an extremely bad injury.
Do you know if there's any history of mental illness with the suspect?
I believe that there is some history. I don't know the extent of it at this time. I don't know, and when we talk about motive, what made him think to do that, I can't think of a motive. Again, we're not able to talk to him at this time because he's hospitalized. As soon as we're able to talk with him and find out a little bit more, maybe it'll begin to come into play a little bit better for us. But right now, you know, what is the motive? Why would he do something like that? You know, when those officers arrived, they came to help him. They came to help him, just like they go to help people each and every day. And you know, rather than being there to help him, or being able to help him, you know, he attacked them. He fired at them. He started shooting at those officers. There was no shooting just into the ground or waving his gun around. He shot at those officers, and they fired back.
Has the wife been contacted, or has anyone spoken with the wife about possible reasons this might have happened?
Yes, the family has been talked with, and again, the Polk County Sheriff's Office is doing a phenomenal job. They're assisting us with this. Our thanks goes out to them. They've spoken with the family. They've spoken with the son and the daughter, and they're doing their best to try to piece this thing together. But again, until we really talk to the suspect, it's going to be hard to know exactly why he did what he did.
I mean, his kids were in law enforcement. There could have been a chance that his daughter, deputy, arrived on scene to help this call.
That absolutely could have happened, and again, I could not even imagine how bad the family feels at this time. Again, they had nothing to do with his actions. He made those choices, and we're here to support them as well.
I mean, he called you guys for help and ambushed you guys. I mean, you said there's training. Is there anything else that you guys will be doing? I mean, is there any? Do you guys? I mean, how do you guys protect yourselves when you guys go to respond? Is this something that you guys? I mean, is this something that you guys expect? Is this? I mean, what? How do you prepare yourself for something like this?
This is something that everybody fears could happen. We know it could happen at any time. We train constantly. We work with other agencies. We prepare for these types of situations. The officers responded as they were trained. All of the officers did, from our agency to the other agencies that responded to assist. We went toward the threat, and we went to stop that threat because we didn't want to see anybody else be hurt. You know, of course, we're going to do after-action reviews. We have an internal investigation that we'll do. Along with the Sheriff's Office, the State Attorney will also review this, the shooting. But we'll determine if there are things that we need, equipment-wise, training-wise, whatever it might be. We want to know how we could do this even better. I think that the men and women were extremely courageous to do what they did and to respond the way they did. But we'll still always look for ways to do things better, and that's just part of our process.
Did you talk to the two officers that are recovering at home? How are they doing today?
I have spoken with both officers. I spoke with both of them last night. They're both going to be just fine. Again, that's a traumatic event, you know, to be shot, and to have somebody shooting at you. You know, people talk about these kind of things all the time, and it's not as easy as people might think when somebody's shooting at you to go toward that threat and to stop it. They did an excellent job of defending themselves and defending the community. So they're going to be just fine. We have processes in place to address that and to help those folks work through their feelings. And it's not just those two officers that were shot that are going to need that. Quite a few officers are going to need that assistance just to be able to talk and make sure that everything's okay.
Now, are they on paid leave for an extended amount of time?
They are. They're on paid leave right now. They're not going to be working until that we get the investigation through to a certain point at least. But again, the main concern right now is that they're okay. We want to make sure that they're okay and that they're feeling okay, that their families are okay, and that they're going to be able to come back to work and serve the community and do their very best, and also protect themselves in the future.
Chris, as head of the ship here, your guys were put in danger. Many times we hear police agencies being called a family. What's it like to have people that you're very close to and responsible for put in that position?
It's a really tough feeling to describe. I received notification of this when I was in a commission meeting last night. As soon as I got the call, I left to go to the scene. My heart just sank, and then I got notification that officers had been hit. It's really hard to describe that feeling, and unless you're in this job, you deal with this. It's really hard to put a phrase to it or to put a feeling with it. But my heart just sank. I thought about their families. I thought about the men and women that again were going to assist them, and I didn't want to see anybody else get injured. It's a really tough situation to deal with. And again, I've got some of the best men and women that are around, and I'm just really proud of what they did. And I don't want to lose any of them. I want them to go home with everything that they came to work with, and that's what they should do. That's their duty. They need to go home. Their families depend on them, and we're paid to do a job. It's not about the money. It's about providing service, and it's about taking care of other people. They did that, and they showed that in this case. And again, I'm just really proud of them.
This guy had planned this because he had sent his wife away, right, to the grocery store or something?
At this time, what we believe happened was that he did send the wife away to the grocery store, and then he made that call. We don't know until we talk to him exactly what he was thinking, exactly what was going on in his mind. But we do know that it was just him at the house. Again, the barrage of gunfire, it happened very quickly. He fired from the house. He fired from outside the house. He fired at 12 law enforcement officers that were there to ultimately to help him. He fired his gun at them.
One handgun. That's all he had.
At this time, that's all we know is that he had one handgun.
And does the suspect have any military background?
I don't know the answer to that question.